Alright, welcome back to another episode of the Nighttime series. Today, we're going to continue our Absorbing Man Tune Down debate, and this time around, I'm going to be changing my stance, because in the last episode, people commented about, Absorbing Man's defensive capabilities, and just how, they're way too overpowered, and I didn't take into account some of his, abilities, and I am, truly sorry for that. I feel like such an idiot, because, I came really unprepared for, the conversation, right? But a lot of people helped me open my eyes and realize that there are a lot more problematic things about the scout defense that I did not really realize. So yeah, thank you to all the commenters that helped me point out just how bad this guy is on defense. I don't mind being wrong. I don't really care if I'm wrong or no. I don't have some massive ego where I can't be wrong, right? No, that's not me at all. I love when people can point things out and help me learn. So that's very helpful, and I'm really happy that people commented and helped me learn more about Absorbing Man's defensive capabilities. So yeah, I also want to talk about the romance store and the lack of it, to be honest, because I just don't know where it is right now, and I'm gonna have some speculation on where it could be possibly, and if it's even coming out at all. So yeah, a pretty chill day, and let's just get right into it. So I still think that Absorbing Man on defense isn't too bad, except for one part, and the part is the regen. So if you go into the fight without a regen counter, you are not gonna be able to out damage him pretty much, because he has so much tankiness to where you really cannot damage him, and then the regen on top of it, he will pretty much just be unkillable. So it does really limit his options, right? Because you have to have a heal reverser, or someone that has someone that can work with the Ready 3 Despair, and that's not a lot of champions in this game, right? And on top of that, you have to make sure that they can reliably put on their debuffs, because let's say they're a shock champion, right? You get all the debuffs from a shock. You can't do that with Absorbing Man, because he can just throw SP1 and then he'll go immune to shock. So there's a lot of limitations with this character that I didn't really take into account, right? But as it stands, of course, he is very straightforward with the heal reverser, Human Torch, Void, heck, even Mr. Fantastic and Mortal Abomination. Those champs can deal with him very well. But here's the problem. I feel let's use Penny Parker for an example, right? When you face Penny Parker, can she be taken with anyone? Technically, yes, because you can just hit her block and it'll remove the shield, and then you just can do your damage. You will always chip her down at least. Even if it's not a solo, you will chip her down. That's not the case with Absorbing Man, because he will have his regen active for a strong majority of the fight. So you can't just chip him down. You have to heal reverse him or block his healing, right? You just can't try to brute force the damage unless it's one of the highest damage outputs in the game, right? Maybe Gore's God Bomb can do something to him, but I don't even know if that's possible, because MD, right? In a regular content Absorbing Man, then probably, but in Battlegrounds or Alliance War, when there's Mystic Dispersion, that's when it becomes a lot more problematic, because I didn't take into account that Mystic Dispersion is a thing, right? And that just makes him so much more harder, because that will trigger more special attacks, and he'll just have more power to use to activate his regen. So there are a lot of arguments for this guy being too overpowered on defense, and I can honestly see it now, because the regen is very problematic, right? He's also immune to pretty much everything. So if you want to try to kill him with despair, right, having Thread through despair, that's gonna be hard to do as well, because you can't really put debuffs on him, right? You can put non-damaging ones. So the science class is his counter. I feel there's a lot of science champs that can get him down pretty well, but outside of that, you are just in for a very tough time with this guy. And when it comes to Battlegrounds, you can't always rely on getting that one science counter, because let's say the opponent has a Man Thing and an Absorbing Man in their draft, right? And you just have one science champ. You have to pick between using the science champ on either Man Thing or Absorbing Man, right? So you can't always have the perfect fight. That's the thing with Battlegrounds. So in every other piece of content, I feel he is feasible as a defender, because you can bring whoever you want, right? Because it's questing. You pick your team ahead of the time, ahead of the quest. In Alliance War, you can bring your own attackers to deal with him, right? But in Battlegrounds, if you don't draft a science champion, you just cannot beat this guy pretty much. You have to get very lucky that you can bait out opposite special attacks, right? The SP1, he throws it, then the SP2, he throws it. But even then, he still triggers the regen, right? Because it's only on offense where he has to refine to trigger the regen. On defense, he just triggers it after launching a special attack, which is not good at all. That is very problematic. If I were to tune him down, I would make it to where only when he refines is he getting the regen, right? Because that's way more tolerable because you can like make sure that he never refines in the entire match if you like play correctly. So let's do a quick summary of like Absorbing Man's ability. So he has a ton of energy and physical resistance depending on his form. He also has Incinerate, Shock, Bleed, Cold Snap, like 4 immunities to deal with on top of Armor Break immunity, and just like having the ability to just like break through your block, like do a ton of damage through your block if he's refined. So there's like a lot of scary things on defense with this guy, but it's mainly the regen that is like the most difficult part, right? Because you can work around like the damage into your block, right? You can just intercept, or you can just make sure he never refines his forms, but the regen is there pretty much all the time, and that's when it becomes a lot more problematic. So yeah, there is definitely an argument to like say that he deserves a defensive tune down. I am more like, I'm on the neutral side, right? I feel like in general questing, I feel like there's a lot of counters to him because, you can pick your champions, you can pick your counters, but like in Battlegrounds and like when there's Mystic Dispersion involved as well, that's when it becomes like a lot more problematic and like a lot more annoying because, you can't have the perfect fight in Battlegrounds all the time, right? So you have to make with like what you have, and if you don't have like a hero reverser or like someone who can just deal with them very well, you are kind of just screwed. So all in all, I feel like Absorbing Man, while I'm not like fully convinced on like the fact that he needs a defensive tune down, I wouldn't be surprised if he does get one because there's a lot of arguments like for it. So that's gonna be it from like the Absorbing Man tune down discussion. I feel like on offense it is still undisputed that he does not deserve one because he's just not strong enough really. He's a very solid character on offense, but I feel like he's not to the level of like Gallon, Scorpion, Hulkling, those 3. So, and they didn't get tune downs, right? So he doesn't really deserve one in my opinion. So yeah, that's gonna be like the end of that. And now let's talk about the disappearance of the Valentine's store. So last February there was a Valentine's store, and it had a lot of like pretty cool offers. Like it had a Nexus Crystal, had 6-star shards, had romance gems and all that. And if like time if like the time was following last year's, it would be today. Like the store would come out today. But there was no store. There's just a pretty mediocre offer for like $30, and I don't think that's gonna be like the whole romance event, right? So what's going on? Like, is it missing? Is it just not coming out this year? Well, here's like my theory. So today is February 10th, right? And if they were to like do a weekend store, it would end on February 13th. And that's kind of like pointless, right? Because it's not even on Valentine's Day. So I feel like if they were to make like a Valentine's store, it would be on February 14th, which is like Valentine's Day exactly. And I think it would run between Monday and Friday, like Monday through Friday. So I'm not like completely sold on the fact that there's no store this year, because why would Kabam not want money, right? Because they're a company and they can make a lot of money off of this, because Hercules is in the romance like category. So they could sell him, like, and he is in demand right now because Eternity Pain is a thing, right? So there's like a lot of Hercules wanters. So why wouldn't they sell him for money, right? Like it just makes no sense to not do that. So I think that's gonna come out either Monday or, I mean, if it's not Monday, then it's no shot that it like comes out at all, right? So I don't know, man. I'm just a bit like confused because I'm very surprised that Kabam hasn't released it yet. I feel like they would have done it on Friday and make it like a weekend thing. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on like this, if you think there's gonna be like a Valentine's event at all. I think there is gonna be one still, but I'm just a bit confused by the timing of it. Alright, so that's gonna be for this episode. Overall, pretty fun episode. Just like talking about, Absorbing Man and, the Valentine's store disappearing. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Absorbing Man. Let me know if you think he should get tuned down or not, both like on offense and defense. I feel like on offense he shouldn't, but on defense there's a strong case for it, definitely. And the romance store, I just don't know where it is, man. Hopefully it comes out on Monday, but if not, then it's very surprising, to be honest. And yeah, that's about it for me.